Risk taker, businessman, sports and entertainment promoter, and passionate about making Florida the best place to live, shop, work, and play. It's time for the Joe Mullins Radio Show.
Hello, Florida. This is Joe Mullins of the Live, Work, Shop, Play Show, and welcome to another great weekend in the most beautiful state in the most beautiful country in the world. We are in Florida, and we're having a great time. The weather is beautiful. We're getting ready for Memorial Day. It's going to be an amazing holiday weekend where we recognize our great military that's given us the ability to have this. And so many of those military leaders that went out and risked their lives and braved and have gone out and fought hard for our country to have the freedom that they have started second battles. They're serving inside the country of America, inside our country, with amazing roles like congressmen, senators, representatives, state senators, mayors, governors. We see so many great ones. Matter of fact, the Florida governor, former military. We've got senators, Senator Rick Scott, former military. We've got mayors, or one of the mayors that we talked about a few weeks ago, Mayor Mike Norris of Palm Coast. He is a former military guy. Great people. They're serving our countries. We want to tell everybody, have a great weekend and enjoy it, and let's celebrate this wonderful, wonderful holiday weekend that we have. Today, we're going to talk about the hot topic of local cities and counties and our communities fighting amongst themselves. A couple of the hot topics that we're seeing: moratoriums. Do they work? Are they the solution to the growth problem and the infrastructure problems Florida has? We've got mayors suing counties. The Palm Coast mayor we spoke about, we had the media come on and talk about how he has filed a lawsuit against his county. There's more to that story than was realized. There's more to come. And we're going to have a guest with us today that's going to help bring some of this to light. We also have a lot of people accusing of misappropriation of funds, money being laundered, money being used. Is that really going on, or is that just a political attack? We're going to start talking off today. And today I've got with me Chase Russell. Chase, welcome to the show.
Joe, thanks so much for having me. It's a pleasure to be on.
Now, Chase, we're talking about a lot of counties in Florida when we start talking about moratoriums and we start talking about government officials fighting amongst themselves. You work with a lot of political people. Now, you've had the ability of working with our mayor of Palm Coast, but you work with several different people in many different areas. Do you not see this happening in all over the state of Florida?
No, I think this is a large issue across the state. There's a lot of nationwide. There's a lot of controversy going around. When you look at the development here in Florida, there's a lot of citizens that are saying, hey, when hurricanes come through, my house is flooding. They're blaming that on development. And there's a large push right now across the state. And this isn't localized to Flagler County. I mean, Flagler County is something that we're going to hit on today, definitely. But you see this across the state. You see a lot of local governments having the heat put on them. You see a lot of local media that are swaying one way or the other. And it's an issue across the state. This is not just particular to Flagler County, but Flagler County has become kind of the pinnacle of this across the state, which is why it's such an important issue.
Certainly, Flagler County has made the news because the mayor came into office. He was immediately attacked by some of the other council. The citizen, the neighborhood, or the community is divided. Some want growth, some don't want growth. You can't stop growth, but you can define growth. But right now, the moratorium message is almost like the wall to me. It's people trying to get people to wake up and say, hey, put a halt on the building. Let's get a game plan, a definition of how we can grow, but grow smart and grow productive, because we are starting to see some infrastructure challenges. Do you not see it that way?
No, I see it. I would agree with you in some senses as far as the growth goes. I mean, you saw after COVID, people wanted to escape where they were coming from. They came here to Florida because it's an amazing state. Governor DeSantis has done a fantastic job at running this state and making sure that it's taken care of. But at the same time, I agree with you in the sense that we have to have responsible growth. You cannot just keep building houses. You can't go blindly into this without a plan. And what's happened right now across the state is a lot of the city governments have kicked the can down the road with having an actual plan on development, and they just keep building houses. There's so many houses in the queue that aren't selling in the state of Florida right now And it's just going to continue to keep getting worse as far as the flooding goes, as far as cities saying, hey, this is overdeveloped, the traffic's bad. There's just no game plan across the state or even county by county on where this is going to go development wise. So you see a lot of this uprising coming from the people of, hey, there's no game plan. We need to get a game plan. And that's what boils down to all this strife as far as the development goes. By no means is the mayor of Palm Coast or most mayors that I've talked to or councilmen or commissioners that I've talked to across the state, they're not anti-development. They're not against any development or residential development, but we have an issue with commercial development coming down here to the state of Florida. There's not enough jobs. There's not enough income coming into the state. So now we have to refocus our resources on how do we get commercial businesses to come into the state? How do we build an environment that they want to be here? And when you're selling off all your land or taking all your land and rezoning it for residential housing, there's not going to be any land left for commercial zoning. So that's where the issue really lies within all of this across the state.
I almost believe that we're doing the words to moratorium what we did with workforce housing. We're branding it so bad that the public now thinks, oh, moratorium's a bad word or moratorium's a solution. Workforce housing is a very, very good solution, but the way they branded it and the way the media twisted it, it turned into this Section 8 and subsidized housing thing that people started fearing. And I think the media is doing that here. They're going extreme. It's clickbait for them. They're going extreme on both sides. So, we got a mayor. He comes into Flagler County, and this is no different than Hillsborough County or Orange County, any of the others. He comes in, he starts talking about getting a plan, but he uses the word moratorium. Everybody freaks out on one side. The other side starts praising it, saying this is the answer. And they're extremists. So they're going, yes, we need to shut the gates and not allow anyone in. Can't do that. But this mayor comes in, he has a plan, he comes into the commission, and immediately fighting starts breaking out. What do you think is causing all this? Do you think it's the way it's being delivered, or what do you think is causing all this?
I agree 100%. I think that, hitting on my point before, across the state, there's a lot of news agencies they're funded. For instance, The Observer, you had Brian McMillan on, great writer. I think that he's doing great things with The Observer. However, there's some clear definitions that need to be had here. In all honesty, I think the media does a pretty poor job as far as branding a moratorium. I mean, what exactly does it mean? A moratorium can mean multiple different things, and particularly in Flagler County, it didn't even get to the discussion phase, so nobody even knew. It could have been a temporary moratorium to say, hey, let's stop, let's hold the brakes, let's figure out what we're doing, which is what the mayor was originally proposing. Now, to hit on Brian McMillan in your show last week, I listened to it, fantastic show. I think Brian's a fantastic writer. But I do want to point out a few quick things real quick as far as how the media operates. Do I think The Observer or any of these news organizations, yes, they need their money. That's how they make their money, is by advertising. But there's an old saying, don't bite the hand that feeds you. So now you have to keep up with that advertising. You have to keep up with who's paying you. So if you look at it, I did a little bit of research here. If you look at it from May 7th all the way to the March 11th, there were 14 negative and unfavorable articles against the mayor. And there were 2 articles that were favorable towards the mayor. That's what's called pile-up reporting, and that's what they like to do. So they'll take this and they'll put it out as much as humanly possible. You saw this against Trump in the election, where they'll just keep posting multiple articles out negatively. And that's the tactic they use to sway public perception. And if they want to do that, that's completely okay, but the citizens need to be aware of that. For instance, when the moratorium got brought up in Palm Coast, they went out and did an entire interview video with the Home Builders Association. That's propaganda. So when it comes down to it, the people aren't even actually getting the facts. They're getting fed information that they want. And Brian's correct. His titles on his articles are true. It's factual, but they're just completely busting it out as many articles as they could possibly do. For instance, May 7th, May 5th, April 22nd, the 21st. It's every 3 days they're pumping out a new article about how bad a moratorium is. That's not good either. Both sides need to be heard. And he even said it on your show last week that, hey, we try and build a bridge. That's not building a bridge. That's propaganda.
Well, and I agree. People, again, I don't see the word moratorium
meaning what some of the extremes mean with it. Oh, we're going to stop growth and we're not going to allow anyone else in. It's funny because when I hear them say that, these are usually people from other states and other areas that came in. And I'm sitting here going, well, why do you get to decide that the gate's shut? Why are you the gatekeeper of the community? But they're extremists, and we're always going to have extremists. Then you got the others that think, oh, my God, you're stopping building and everything's going to stop completely. And I think we have just about destroyed the word moratorium, just like we did workforce housing, and we're going to have to come with a smarter word now. And I think the word is define our growth, or preserve. I always used to campaign and say we're going to preserve our past while defining our future. And that is really what I think the mayor is trying to say, and some of these other leaders are trying to say. Unfortunately, I think the media has spun it to the point where it's extreme and it's fighting and it's arguing. And then they start the fight and then they come in and do the story. Oh, my God, how are they fighting? Why are they fighting? And I'm sitting here going, is our media bipolar? Is our media borderline personality disorder, where we get people, they come in and start the argument, and then they come in and say, oh, my God, why are these people arguing like that? It's like they don't even realize. You and I both know they realize what they're doing, but the public needs to start seeing it.
We're going to come right back after this commercial break. We want to thank you for listening to Live, Work, Shop, Play, the Joe Mullins Show. And if you want to advertise and connect with our many, many listeners around the country, please reach out to events@tmc.work. And if you have any show topics or people you'd like to see come on, like our Facebook page to follow upcoming shows and to give us any recommendations. The Live, Work, Shop, Play page of Florida on Facebook and Instagram. Live, Work, Shop, Play. Have a great weekend. Welcome back to the Live, Work, Shop, Play show.
Now, we got a mayor. I think the mayor is an amazing guy. I think he's really trying. I think he's misunderstood quite a bit. How efficient is a mayor like that going to be? When I first got into politics, I was told you are nothing unless you have 2 other votes. No matter what you want to do, it can be the greatest ideas. How is this mayor going to get things done for the people when it's 4-1 against him often?
Right. And so, to hit on as far as the mayor and getting stuff done, the people elected him, 63% of the people elected him to that office as a mandate. They wanted change. He's a strong leader. He has some words that I particularly wouldn't use, maybe some other people wouldn't use, but that's what you kind of need in this position, that somebody that's going to actually stand for what's right, regardless of if they're going to get pressure, regardless if they're going to get 14 negative articles written about them in 30 days, regardless of all these people trying to write hit pieces on him or do fake investigation. He's got to come in and he's got to stand. Now, you're right. He does need those votes on that council, but the people need to elect those people that are on the council and do the work for the people. And right now you have 2 people on that council that aren't even elected. So, the question can be posed again. They're not actually working for the people. So when does the mayor get the option, or when do the people get the option to actually put somebody out there that's going to work for them? Going back, I'm a 7th-generation Floridian. So going back to your point of when do the doors close, I don't know. This has been an issue across Florida for a very long time, and it's always been, you said this last week on your show, it's been a long time coming, and every generation is, hey, we've got too many people here, we've got too many people here. But I don't think the discussion needs to be stop having people come here. But again, we need to pause, we need to reset, we need to think, how do we move forward strategically so we can bring commercial in here? And part of the mayor's plan would be to build up. You talked about Orlando on your show last week as well. Orlando built up. You have to build up. You cannot continue to do urban sprawl. It's just not going to work. You take up all your land, and if you look at it from a square footage or an acreage tax-based, commercial beats it every single day on residential.
It's such a good point with that. And when you're talking about the mayor, yes, it is a little frustrating when you went out. I know I went out and ran for office, was elected by the people. And then I constantly fought with a guy that was appointed to the seat who had no clue, didn't care about representing the people, pondered back and forth. And it is frustrating. And I just really caution the mayor from what I went through and the things I went through. Be careful, because some of those extreme groups can really come back and bite you. And the people that were there that I was defending early on came back to not defend me when I was starting to get attacked by the liberal media. And what I would say, looking back on it, said what I would do different is I would do what my skill is. My skill is negotiating, getting things done, and getting results. I do it in my work. I do it in my business. And this mayor truly has some skills that would be good. Mayor Norris is a phenomenal guy. He really wants to sit at the table. He's got a desire to get a solution. And if he can somehow pull that as the leader to pull that council together, and I don't know how you do it because it's getting so personal now, and it's almost like now it's a game to see who you can get off the board the quickest. Can we get the elected mayor off or the appointed commissioner off? And I'm just shocked with it. But at the end of the day, there's 120,000 citizens that are sitting back watching it going, wait a minute, this is my life. This is my livelihood. This is my community. This is my investment. This is my kid's future that is getting played around with like this. So it's pretty alarming.
Right. And you see this with Mayor Norris's recent lawsuit to the city, trying to get the entire point of that lawsuit is to make sure that the people have a right to choose their elected leaders. And a huge update on it today, the judge has already agreed to have that hearing on July 3rd. They've got 15 days to respond. With that being said, I mean, the mayor's a bulldog. He's the type of guy that is going to get in and get stuff done. And you may not like the words he says. It's mean tweet. We're both Trump guys. It's a mean tweet. But at the same time, he's there to get a job done. He was mandated by the people to get a job done. He's going to do it by any means necessary. And if it means suing his own city out of his own pocket to get it done, then that's what he's willing to do. And that's what's going to happen. And you're seeing this again. I go back to my original statement. This is across the state of Florida that this is happening. And I think it's honestly a bold statement that Mayor Norris is going in and doing this and really leading the charge across the state with this type of lawsuit.
Well, I think you're right. And I would tell people, listen, don't think your city is the only one dealing with stuff like this. Guys, we've had government sit back and we've had people that do nothing. They want to stay out of the media. And their way of staying out of the media is make sure they just come in, be quiet, and they don't do anything. And it's insanity stuff that they do. And they have now created such a mess that the bill is due. The problems are due. Now we, the people, are feeling it, and we're seeing it in our traffic by not updating our traffic signals or updating the traffic flow, by our drainage, by not holding people accountable. One good thing about new growth is we can go to these builders and say, you've got to pay more fees. You got to do this work to get this done. And I'm sorry, but we've got to correct this problem, and we can't allow a new home in to create more problems. That's the way you get it done. You put the bill more on the builder. But we've got a bigger problem, Chase. We got the governor pushing the lower property taxes when Flagler County's 90% dependent, or counties like Flagler are 90% dependent on property taxes. If this governor gets this pushback through, where are these government officials, including our mayor? Where are they going to get the money to solve these problems?
This is the issue with that. So I'm glad you brought that up. If this is counties across the state, if property taxes go away for homesteaded residents, where are you going to get your money from? And you could see this even back in 2008 when the market crashed and the housing market crashed. Governments were out of money. They were completely going broke, filing bankruptcy across the state. So you haven't diversified as a personal, if you have a personal advisor financially, they're going to tell you diversify your portfolio. It's the same with a city or a county or a commission. It's the same. You have to diversify. And what's happened is we've relied way too much across the state, and particularly in Flagler, where you've got that 90% on residential tax base. You haven't diversified. So if anything happens to the home builders, or if anything happens where the housing market takes a dip or property taxes go away, essentially your city's screwed. There's no ifs, ands, or buts. You're not making any money, and now all of these entitlements that are due to the residents are gone. You can't fund it anymore. So the cities and counties really need to be paying attention to what's happening at the state level and even at the national level as far as taxes go. They need to start worrying about diversifying their tax base. And it goes back to what I said before, too. They're kicking the can down the road. And what the mayor is really sticking to is, hey, we cannot continue to kick this can down the road. We have to address it now. And that's what the moratorium was in favor of. But again, the news came out and did a whole bunch of segments on it and made everybody think that it's not good. But he was just asking 90 days. Let's calm this down and figure out a plan. And if you're in that much debt, which the city of Palm Coast is, you should probably take a step back and reevaluate things and say, hey, how can we fix this? And that takes not spending money. That takes taking the time out. And we're both fiscal conservative. How about spend less money? People, you asked last week on your show, you asked, hey, where are we going to get this money from? Spend less money. It's simple as that.
Absolutely. And, what I love about the mayor does come from a military background. Can you imagine our military going into battle without a plan? And this is what I think he's trying to tell everybody. Let's stop, get a plan, and then go into the battle, and let's win the war. Let's win. He wants to win for us. I truly see that. I don't know if he'll get the opportunity to. I think it's going to be a mess for a while longer, and I think it's a very dangerous thing. But, one of the things that I encourage Mayor Mike to do and focus on is stay focused on it, but try to start seeing, hey, what approach can I really use? Because we were able to get infrastructure done like never before in the county when I served. We were able to get it, broadband brought to the area, mental health services. We were number one in suicide. We lowered that ranking and brought mental health services, and we dealt with the homeless. When I got in, most people said, hey, Joe, don't touch these things. Don't go near them. There's no solution. And I said, no, there's got to be a solution. I said, we're not going to leave people out in the streets like this, like we wouldn't even leave our dog. So, but we worked together, but a lot of it was 3-2 votes. It was me, Sullivan, and O'Brien versus the other two that just were all over the place and never consistent and just ridiculous. But at the end of the day, you got to get stuff done, and you got to get those 3 votes. And I really hope he does. And I think, like you said, there's hope there. I think every position should be elected by the people, that if an appointed person goes in, it should be there's just a bridge to get that initial person in, because when you put a person in and appoint them, there's usually a favor, there's something going on and happening. And I'm going to warn our listeners, and I think they need to pay attention to this. If the governor, I want him to pass the brake on property taxes. I own a bunch of property. But if the governor does that and he's successful, it's going to affect county's income and city's income. And it's also going to create such a massive movement of home sales, because now these homes are going to be worth a fortune, because people are going to be able to move from New York, California, Michigan, some of these higher tax places, and they're going to be flooding into our area, and it's going to be out of control. And to look at Chase and say, Chase, you can't sell your home, but Joe can for $5 million, but you can't sell your home anymore because we're going to do a moratorium on sales. That's not going to happen. So, Chase, what do you think, real quick, as we wrap up, that we need to see happen here in the counties?
I think in the counties, they need to start looking at diversifying. They need to look into commercial building. They need to look into bringing industry down here, and they need to really put their marketing dollars into other states to bring business down here to the state. And they need to start looking into building up. People are not going to stop moving here, but you need to build up, and you can't continue to do urban sprawl.
Chase, I want to thank you for joining us today. And I do want you to come on again, because we got so much more to cover, and I know more is going to play out with the mayor. And I don't think the media is going to give him a fair share of exposure and say, I think this is going to be similar to Trump. They're going to really attack and try to make him look like this evil dictator. But I really would like you to come on again. And we are going to begin a very big series, and it's going to go over for a couple of months of talking about growth and moratoriums. And we're going to be interviewing cities in Tampa, officials and residents talking about it, because I really want to pose the question, is a moratorium what you really want? You're asking for higher taxes. You're asking for all of your potential future income to come to a halt the way the media is playing it out. What we need to really start pushing, I think, and you just said, is defining the growth, putting the brakes on it a little bit, slowing it down, and getting a plan. That's the smartest thing. But we'd love to have you back on.
Yeah, absolutely. I welcome it at any time. And Joe, thanks so much for having me on.
Guys, I want to remind you, don't listen to the media all the time. Know that the old saying was, if there's smoke, there was fire. That is not true anymore. The media's biggest job is to create the smoke to make people think there's a fire there, and to burn up the press and make people want to hear it again. We know that they twist the truth. We know they don't say the truth. Really look into it and listen. I wish cities like Palm Coast and Orlando and Tampa all have people that could come together, work together, and get a mission and a plan. And that's what it's going to take to succeed. But to be able to do that, we have to separate the media out, the fake news and the bloggers and the attackers that want to attack our American society. They want to stir the fight. They don't want a solution. They love to see people fight, because the big headline is mayors are suing cities. It's not mayors are fighting to get growth responsible for the community. Mayors want their officials to be represented by and elected by the people, not appointed by special interest group. Not saying that's happened here, but what I am saying is that the message that the media is not putting out there truthfully. Remember, dig in a little deeper, listen, and hear us anytime. And if you miss this show, you can stream online at The Joe Mullins Show, or you can go to Facebook, The Joe Mullins Show, and listen live anytime on our podcast. Have a great weekend. And remember, let's keep Florida the greatest place to live, work, shop, and play. Have a great weekend.